But let's jump into our final topic. We tweeted out our topics earlier today. I did.
We did.
On Most Valuable Pod on Twitter if you want to check them out. We wanted to hear what you guys thought about some of our topics. We didn't get to all of them. There was only one guy who responded. We want to give a huge shout out to Mike2K_97 on Twitter. You can follow him at Mike 5181997.
Cool.
Shout out to Mike over there. We didn't get to your Cavs and DeAndre thought or your Kemba thoughts. Sorry about that, but we are going to bring you up into our Michael Porter Jr. talk. We're talking, is Michael Porter Jr. a perfect fit for the Sacramento Kings? He says Porter would be perhaps one of the better players in this draft to go on the Kings. However, I feel the best fit would be Doncic, as he has a veteran presence to help him along with a highly polished game, and once he develops more of a catch-and-shoot game, him and Fox will be solid. So thank you, Mike, for your shout-out. Guys, check out Most Valuable Pod. We'll be tweeting out, hopefully, all of our podcast topics before they go live, and you guys can hopefully get involved in the conversation. We'll throw those out. But right now, Sacramento currently owns the #1 slot in the lottery. They've lost 7 straight games, 1-9 in their past 10. Last week, we talked about Orlando getting the #1 over pick. But right now, Sacramento is slotted in for the #1 pick, at least getting the top odds to get the #1 overall pick. And I think if they have the #1 pick, we can probably all agree Luka should be the move, because right now you have Willie Cauley-Stein at the center, you have Harry Giles at the power forward who you just drafted, you have Scale at the power forward who you just drafted 2 years ago, you have Georgios Papagiannis as well, Papa John's, who you just drafted as well. So the at least front court is very loaded, at least the power forward and center position for the Sacramento Kings for the future. You also have big ol' Zebo there as well, but he's mostly going to only be here for this year. So taking all of that in, Luka is most likely going to be the fit because they need a small forward. Luka would fit in.
Unless they move George Hill. If they move George Hill, they can go with the guy we're going to talk about. They can go with Michael Porter Jr.
What do you mean?
Because if they move George Hill, it's the small forward position.
Well, Luka could play small forward.
I'd put him more in the backcourt. I'd put Luka more as the shooting guard.
Well, we talked about this before.
I think you're just getting away from the fact that offensive and defensive positional are not like tied together. You can be a point guard on offense.
No, I'm
and be a
saying
small
I would
forward
slot
on
him in
or
like
whatever.
in the backcourt, not a wing.
But you have Buddy
and
and De'Aaron Fox right now.
Yeah, I know. That's why if they move George Hill, I'm saying I wouldn't draft Luka.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Right now, I think #1 overall. To me, it would still be to be Luka. But if they fall out of that #1 overall slot, let's just say they do, I still think this is a talented team. 1-9, a very bad stretch for them. But we saw last year they did win on a run and after they traded Boogie, which is weird. And Buddy Hield started going off. These young players started playing very well for Sacramento. I don't feel like this is going to be the team that ends up with the #1 overall pick. Luka's mostly going to be off the board. Ayton's most likely going to be off the board. Then it's up to the players like Marvin Bagley, Michael Porter Jr., Trae Young, Colin Sexton. And the thing with those two guys, and Colin Sexton and Trae Young, those are point guards. You just drafted De'Aaron Fox. He looks like a stud right now. I mean, like, he hasn't been great in his NBA career so far. Yeah, but he's a young guy, and we expect that to go away once he starts playing more. He looks like a stud, at least potential-wise.
Yeah.
So you're most likely not going to go with a point guard. So Trae Young, Colin Sexton off the board, even though I wouldn't put back Vivek Ranadive to go with Trae Young if he pops off during the tournament, because that's what Vivek Ranadive does.
Or if like a Marvin Bagley does.
Or if Marvin Bagley does. But the point I'm trying to make, Michael Porter Jr., at least in my mind, would be a perfect fit because you talked about the small forward position pretty much being open for the Sacramento Kings. I know they just took Justin Jackson out of North Carolina. I think he's a bum. Michael Porter Jr., I think, is still my #1 overall player when healthy in this draft class, and I feel slotting him in with his athletic ability next to Buddy Hield's shooting ability, De'Aaron Fox's athleticism, Willie Cauley-Stein's athleticism, and then either Harry Giles' athleticism or Skal Labissier's ability to stretch out to mid-range as well. I feel like this could be a really dangerous pairing. We talked about the Kings, at least after their free agent moves and their draft picks, that this could be a dangerous team of the future, and that's why I think Michael Porter Jr. could be the best fit, or at least a perfect fit, for the Sacramento Kings. Dave, you're kind of giving me a weird look. I don't know if you're just waiting for me to stop talking or what.
No. I just when you mentioned dangerous team, and I just had that like horrible flashback of how high I was on this team in the offseason. It was like, yeah, look at all this young talent, look at all this stuff, and then I look at their team and I look at their record and I look at the way they've been playing, and it's just kind of disappointing.
Well, and we saw the hot streak that they went on the end of the season. We see the signings of George Hill, a player that we all three like. We see the signing of Zebo, and we're like, oh, Zebo's a really good player still. I mean, he's at least going to be able to score and grab some boards for you. it just hasn't worked out there. And Jaeger hasn't been able to rally the troops. So, I mean, I still think that this team still has a ton of potential, even though it's really not working out right now. And they got your favorite player in Buddy Hield, Ricky.
No, they do. And the thing that I was thinking before we recorded, the thing that I said and the thing that I think would have worked for the Kings, if they do take a Michael Porter Jr., do you go ahead and this is barring he doesn't play this year, do you do a Giles situation? Do you do a Ben Simmons situation where, hey, you know what, we're going to sit you your first year as a pro and you're not going to play? There's only one flip side to that. Their 2019 first-round pick is either going to be with Philly or Boston.
Yep.
It's going to be one of the two. So you can't
There's
really
no point
suck
to
tank because you're not going to have that pick unless you trade George Hill. And I'm not saying the Brooklyn pick, but you get a pick next year for just something.
Yeah, but even then, like your performance won't really direct where that pick's going to end up.
It'll be the team you get that pick from.
And weren't there rumors already of him, wanting to come back before this year's even over? So like, I don't know if this is the type of injury where you want to have him sit out for a year to build up, because at this point, like, he could be ready to come back in a month and a half. And
the biggest thing, and you guys talked about this on the Primetime Podcast, I think it was 2 weeks ago. Go check it out. It's should Michael Porter come back to college basketball. And the whole talk is, he should be ready. I think it was at least 2 weeks ago there was a report that he should be ready around this time to resume basketball actions.
July 12th was the date that he was supposed to be back.
Okay.
Yeah, January.
January 12th. So 7 days ago.
Yeah.
Last Friday. And that was a thing that we talked about in our mock drafts, was the fact that this kid might be able to come back, and you guys talked about it on the Primetime Podcast. But it's really, should he? What was your guys' ultimate decision?
Well, my decision is, if he plans to come back, because we were talking about just this season.
Right.
If he plans to stay in college to play with his father, who's the assistant coach at Mizzou, to play with his brother, John Tay, then sure, come back this year. But if your ultimate goal is to go to the draft, don't risk it. Just go to the draft.
Especially you don't want to get injured again.
Yeah, exactly.
So then it's really the thought, not only should he come back next year, but should he come back this year and try to, at least build up that draft profile? And there was some guy, I think in our comments, I'm sorry, I don't know your name off the top of my head, but he mentioned that Michael Porter shouldn't come back because it's just going to hurt his draft stock, because if he doesn't come out and look well, or if he re-injures his back again, then he's totally screwed. Yep. So, I mean, you're in this rock and a hard place. It's either, do I avoid the draft this year and play with my dad and my brother, or do I avoid or do I resume basketball action and possibly re-injure my back before the NBA draft, and then I might screw my chances. I have no choice but to come back.
Right.
So right now, where would you guys say that Michael Porter should be in? And I know we don't really know where he will be.
Draft position? Or?
No, but like where do you think that he is in right now in a situation? Do you feel like he's going to sit out this season and come back to Mizzou? Do you feel like he's going to sit out this season, go into the draft? Or do you feel like he will come back this season and then decide whether to go back to Mizzou or come back to the draft? Do you feel like if he comes back this season, let's answer this. If he comes back this season, is he going to enter the draft?
Yes. It's a 50-50 to me. If he comes back, it's a 50-50.
Do you think both are 50-50s? That the fact that he might come back this season?
If he doesn't play this year, he's gone.
Okay.
If he does not play this year, he's going to the draft. However, the thing that I brought up in that segment, and it's a little bit of time has gone on. Got to throw out Mizzou lost to Illinois, so what up? However, if they're a team right now, they're 3-2 in the SEC. They just got a big win over a ranked Tennessee team. If they start doing well, they beat an Alabama on the road. They beat a ranked Kentucky team once. They beat a ranked Auburn team. If they get some of these big wins, they go into the conference tournament with a favorable chance to make the tournament, or even go ahead and, hey, I can help this team make it to the tournament, then I could see the pressure kind of be like, well, I'm going to go and play for my team to get us into the tournament.
Well, and the other thing, too, they just got Torrance Watson, who's a four-star shooting guard as well, to bring on. So they have more players coming back, not only his brother, Michael Porter, they also got four-star recruits coming in. So they got decent recruiting class as well for next year,
too. It depends. Is he going to be like Miles Bridges, where Miles Bridges wants to win a championship?
Ultimately, Dave, do you think he's going to be in the NBA draft? Do you feel like there's even the chance that he could be a perfect fit for the Sacramento Kings because they might not have the opportunity to draft him? Do you feel like he's ultimately come out?
I think it'd be a great fit for them, and I think he should come out. The problem is he's still a kid, and he's extremely emotional. I mean, the fact that he switched schools to play for his dad, that like all of this is tied together. It feels like it's a maturity level thing maybe, and he doesn't see the long...
In what way?
Like the fact that the decision he has to make. Like, is he going to be short-sighted and be like, look, I have this great opportunity to play with my dad, potentially play with family later, and like we could be on a heater running into the tournament. Like, this is a chance of a lifetime. And I get it. It is. Or you could be like, well, if I don't play, I'm going to go collect millions of dollars in the NBA, regardless of if I'm actually going to be healthy for more than 3 years. So for me, it seems like I would take the money over the experience. But I wonder, because of him deciding to play for his dad, because of all that pressure building up, that he might take the route and actually want to press his luck, come back this year, play during the tournament, and maybe risk the chance of being a top 5 pick.
Well, the one thing with him going to Mizzou, it also made sense just because he's from Mizzou. So it wasn't like he
could
was
have played at a better school.
Yeah, but he was going away to Washington.
Well,
Washington just had some great recruiting classes with Fultz, Chris.
The reason why he was going to Washington
his dad was
his dad
coach.
was on that staff, and once the head coach got fired, the staff got let go.
Yeah, and so then his dad went to Missouri.
Yeah.
He's from Missouri. It just made sense for him just to stick. And I think Columbia is where the University of Mizzou is located as well. I think that's where he was born as well. So I mean that him decommitting after a coach was fired.
No, I'm saying
that's
more
not too
of him
crazy.
Following his dad around as the coach. Like, if your
But
dad's been your
also
coach for your whole life, there's a relationship there. You have the father son.
But he
you have
hasn't
the
been.
coach. No,
because
not
his
like
dad's been
his
out in Washington.
Coach, but like, come on, growing up, like there was that relationship.
Yeah.
You heard it from Jordan. You heard it from other NBA players. When their dad is a coach figure in their life, even if they're not like directly the coach of the team, they're still their coach pretty much. And it's just, I feel like that relationship is completely different than like a father-son relationship. And that's why there's more pressure on him.
I wouldn't say, like, the one word you used that I wouldn't have used was short-sighted.
Yeah.
To where I'm on the other side, to where I don't think it's real emotional if he did want to play with his brother or play with his father and come back next year.
You don't think there's any emotion in that decision?
Well, no. There's emotion there, but I don't think it's like, oh my God, this kid's emotional. We can't draft him.
No, I'm not saying you can't draft him. I'm saying that he's going. That decision is being pinned on.
What's wrong with, because he moved out to Seattle and played for Nathan Hale. I think midway through his high school career, he was originally in Columbia. In Columbia until he was, I think, a sophomore, and then went out to Nathan Hale. So I mean, like, he was following his dad in some ways, but I mean, can you blame him for wanting to play with his dad? And it's not like.
No, that's the thing. I'm not blaming him for any of this. I'm just saying that because of that relationship, it's not like a normal case where we've seen a player who gets injured. It's not Harry Giles, because Harry Giles didn't have this extra.
It was a worse injury because he tore his ACL.
And I get that. Well, this could be a bad injury going forward. It could be something reoccurring. We don't know.
We have no clue.
So that's the thing is, I'm just saying it's a completely different situation. You can't compare it to that because he didn't have that relationship. He didn't have those other stakes being laid on top of there that changes your decision making. Like, if I'm telling my dad I'm not going to come back and play for you, it's different than telling, Coach K. It's like, hey, I'm done. I'm going to go make my money. Thanks. Like, it's just a different level of a decision. It's more things have been added onto that, and it's not bad. It's just, I'm saying you have to understand that there's a different level of decision.
The one thing I would say is, instead of being emotional, there's more levels. It's a deeper situation than just I want to go to the NBA. Because I wouldn't say emotional. Emotional means means I feel like he's not thinking this through.
Yeah.
Like that, when emotional, I feel like there's some
being
negative
decided
to it.
Not by logic.
Yeah, but I feel like you could still make a logical decision to play with your dad and to play with your brother. Like, there's emotions in there because you've grown up with that person, but I don't think. But you could still have a logical conversation, think it through, and still say, I want to.
Are you going to pass up on millions of dollars, guaranteed money,
or
go back to college, risk being injured for the chance to play for your dad and maybe compete for a national championship, which you wouldn't even be a favorite for?
There's a lot of negatives there because when you look at Miles Bridges, he comes back, he got injured as well right away. So I mean, like, there's I understand that there's emotions.
Yeah,
you're just saying that it would be an emotional decision to go back because it would be the wrong decision.
I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying I think there's more of a chance that he comes back than other guys we've seen this happen to in the past, where they get injured out of the gates in college. And they got to play that decision-making game. Do I come back? Do I not?
Well, it really depends on also, and none of us can answer this because we're not in the room, but like I relate it to kind of like if I was in that situation, how me and my parents were we'd be talking about this almost every day, where it's kind of like until a decision was made, we'd talk it through. And my parents wouldn't be the one to say like, well, don't you think you want to stay in college?
Your parents aren't ultra-competitive like,
well, I wouldn't say competitive. No.
sports parents, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're
come
You're
on.
also not a
same kind of
6'10"
parents.
athletic
Yeah.
freak, Ricky.
No, I know. But
Yeah.
like even like
joking.
in my experience, I've never felt like with anything I'm doing that I was pressured into anything where it's like that's the conversation. Like it all depends on the conversation. I don't think he's having the same conversation that Lonzo and his dad are having.
Yeah.
Like that's the extreme to it.
To be fair, but I think he's closer there to than your parents.
No, and I'm not saying that I'm exactly the same situation. I'm just using
But
like my
also,
situation.
the whole thing with the balls is it's always been built off of business.
Yeah.
Where this,
I'm just saying, like, I think you guys are making too much out of what
I want to
try
get off
make.
this. I want to get off this. So like, I
well,
understand
the
what
point
you're
is,
saying.
is he going to fit in with the Kings?
Yeah. which I'm trying to get back on. But let's go to the Kings because, again, this is a very young team. We like their coach in Dave Yeager. I mean, he had a really good
bombs.
success in Memphis so far. Really hasn't seen that success except out of that second half in the with Sacramento after they traded Boogie away. This year, not seeing that same success, but you look at the roster and the way this has been constructed. Scales, a first-round pick. Malachi Richardson, first-round pick. Harry Giles, a first-round pick. Georgios Papagiannis, first-round pick. Justin Jackson, first-round pick. Buddy Hield, first-round pick. Willie Cauley-Stein, first-round pick. De'Aaron Fox, first-round pick. Again, Buddy Hield, not their first-round pick, but they still got him in the trade for DeMarcus Cousins, so you can still count him as a young player, still locked down. And all those players that I mentioned have until the shortest contract on that is Willie Cauley-Stein, and he still has up until 2019 locked up. And those guys aren't making a ton of money right now. And really, none of those guys outside of Willie Cauley-Stein and probably Buddy Hield really deserve a ton of money because they haven't been playing that much and really haven't shown that much. So this still could be a very young and talented team, and adding a guy like Michael Porter who could be the number one on this team because of his athleticism, because of his scoring ability, because of his ability to rise over defenders, and also his length that could turn into an exceptional defender. Pairing that with De'Aaron Fox, who we talked about his great his great defensive abilities. Also pairing that with the great rim protecting of Willie Cauley-Stein, hiding the deficiencies of Buddy Hield, and Harry Giles and Scala Bissier aren't known for defensive stoppers. We see that Harry Giles might have that potential because of his athleticism, but again, we really don't know where he's going to be. So I think taking Michael Porter Jr. and making him the guy in Sacramento could make this team, 3 years down the road, 4 years down the road, a team that could be a top 5 team of the Western Conference.
I mean, I wouldn't put a number on it, but yeah, that's
where you would expect to be in 3 to 4 years.
Yeah,
at least.
the fit is ideal. You've got a bunch of really athletic kids, really quick talent, and I think that honestly, like the fit, I forget the person who tweeted back to us, but like they nailed it. Like it is a good fit. The only thing I'm concerned about is like, there's rumors of them shipping Willie Cauley-Stein already. There's a couple other names who've been tossed up. But yeah, they desperately need a small forward. And honestly, Porter would be a massive upgrade filling in that need. And you get, because of his length, you get a chance at better rebounding. You get defending, like you said. And if he develops a smooth outside shot over time, like you have something that you've got somebody who's 6'11", right? Or is he 6'10"?
6'10".
6'10".
Is what I've seen him listed as.
Yeah.
We never know, though, until we get the NBA Combine.
I mean, the whole point
is
on Wikipedia.
You get somebody who is taller than the majority or than the average player, and that again, easier shots, easier looks. So
and he's got a crazy vertical, and he's crazy athletic, and he's got a smooth jumper too. And I've seen videos against him and Dennis Smith, and he's not winning, but Dennis Smith's also a year older. One of the most athletic players from last year's draft class, and there's the ability to stick with him. And again, that was 2 years ago. Different players right now, but still, Michael Porter Jr. I feel like he is still the best player.
Yeah.
Barring injury, taking injuries off. Let's turn injuries off in the settings. He's still the best player in this draft. And I think if the Kings have the number 1 pick, they're going to avoid Michael Porter just because of that injury concern. But if they are 2 and below and Michael Porter is still available, I think it'd be stupid for them to pass up because I think this guy could really be a franchise changer out in Sacramento.
No, I'm the same way. I mean, looking back at the mock draft, I had to make sure who I had him go with because I know I didn't have him go with Michael Porter. I had him go with Miles Bridges because I thought that the small forward in general was the position that they should go with.
Yeah.
And I mean, the thing that I like most about it, you bring him in, you still have Buddy Hield then locked down for 2 years. You still have Aaron Fox locked down for 3 years. Guess what? After those years for them, they're restricted free agents. You're probably bringing those guys back. You've got guys like Scallock down on restricted free agent. Willie Cauley-Stein will be a restricted free agent. There's not a lot of UFAs on this team to where
outside of the old guys like Vince Carter, George Hill, Zebo.
Let's be honest, Vince Carter.
No, I'm just throwing out the guys that are UFAs.
He's
like there's not a lot.
At the end. I mean,
Zebo's at the end. He's
Garrett
39
Temple,
years old.
are you going to keep him after 2019? George Hill's the big one. Are they going to trade him? But I mean, everything is RFA, and it's you draft him, and this team kind of grows together. And then Sean, like you said, I wouldn't put a number on it. However, 3 years would be a pretty good one to say, okay, this is the barometer for is this team going to be a good or not NBA team, or and when I say that, I mean playoff team.
Well, and I think guys that really have found their stride mainly this year, at least guys that are younger. Ben Simmons' athleticism was getting him by early, and also having great teammates around him was helping him. Jason Tatum, crazy athletic, helping him, and he also has a great team around him. I mean, most of these guys, Donovan Mitchell, crazy athletic kid, helping him get by. Kyle Kuzma, athletic kid, helping him get by. Michael Porter Jr., his deficiencies in his games will be hidden by his athleticism. And that's the thing, is that's why I say 3 to 4 years. He's not going to be a polished and well-rounded player like Luka will be coming in right away, but he will be able to still be able to grow. And when he hits 26 years old, he might be that polished player that you're finally looking for. And by that point, because of his athleticism, because of De'Aaron Fox hopefully being polished by that time, Buddy Hield being a dangerous shooter from the outside, that is going to help you take this team to the upper echelon of the Western Conference. And we're seeing at least some of those teams crumble. We don't know where the Spurs are going to be. LaMarcus Aldridge is going to be older. They don't have a point guard. They have Kawhi Leonard. What's wrong with Kawhi? He currently has that quad injury. Chris Paul's going to be old in 3 to 4 years. I mean, we don't even know if he's going to be on Houston at that point. James Harden will still be there. You still think he's going to be a player that can contribute. Really, the only team that you could say this team's going to be around is going to be the Warriors.
Might be out west.
Yeah, the only teams that you could really say that are for sure going to be around, at least looking at the standings right now, the Warriors, because they're most likely going to still have Steph and Clay, or Steph and Draymond, or Steph and KD, whatever concoction you want to put with Steph. And then you also have Minnesota, because you assume with that talent, they're going to at least be able to be consistent with Karl-Anthony Towns, Andrew Wiggins, and if Jimmy Butler's still around, which I think he will be in 3 years, he's still going to be able to bring that team to the upper echelon of the West. But outside of that, there's not a lot of dangerous teams out in the West.
This is an outside Michael Porter question, but it's a Kings question that's dancing around my head.
Yep.
Let's say they draft Michael Porter. They're coming through next year. Next year's draft, 2019, I think when Brooklyn got Karras, I think they could do the same thing where it's like we're going to trade into the first round, give someone up. Do you see them next year being a team that sells Zebo or works to get him an extension?
God, no, not an extension. Zebo's what, 39 years old?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like next year's his contract year.
Oh, no. I don't even know if he makes it through this year.
Are they selling him at the trade deadline next year? Is that what we're talking about?
No one's buying Zebo. I don't think anyone's buying Zebo.
For $12 million?
Yeah.
I think that if he's not gone by this trade deadline.
I mean, he's like 14-6 right now. I mean, it's not like he's still got some scoring touch, but Zach Randolph isn't moving the needle and is not going to get you a first-round pick. I understand where you're coming from, but I don't think Zach Randolph is going to be that guy that, next year, especially with his age, is going to be a guy that's going to get you anything worth value at the trade deadline. I don't even know. Again, he might retire after this year. Yeah. We don't know what his thoughts are. So Zebo, I think that's different. That's going to be a something situation next year that we'll address. Because that's really the only one
that I could see them maybe being like, hey, let's see what's out there for a trade.
Well, I think George Hill could be that guy.
No. I'm talking about after this year. Well, I'm saying assuming they'll move
if we're talking about what you're bringing up right now, I think with Karis LeVert, I think they picked him 22nd, 22nd, something like that. A team around that range in the NBA draft could definitely swap their first and take on George Hill. Yeah, because that's a team that's going to be in the playoffs. Let's say
he was 20th in 2016.
Okay, and who's 20th right now in Tankathon? Is it I'm guessing it's I hate doing this off the top of my head.
Duval or something?
No, it's probably like the Miami Heat.
Portland.
Oh,
Portland.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah.
So Portland doesn't. Who's below them that would need a point guard?
Minnesota. Hey,
Minnesota.
That's a deal I want to happen.
Let's just see that. Let's say they have Jeff Teague, but let's just say they get Minnesota. They're at 21, and then you could possibly get Michael Porter, and then possibly get they do have a backup point guard, Frank Mason, but
I'd say Mason's actually played better than Fox most times. It's kind of sad.
Well, he's older.
Yeah,
so that's the thing.
But are we saying trade for this year at the 21st or next year's pick?
Well, I feel like George Hill might be off the team. I mean, like, why not
That's my whole
go? Why
thing
not go
is
this year?
Next year, not having a pick, will that hurt the Kings?
They have so many young talent that I don't think they need to add young
You can
talent.
always
I
give
think
it
they need
back
to
to
add the veterans.
Phoenix at like 23.
Yeah,
They need a point guard.
I don't know. It's
But yeah,
it's something
they're
that's
gonna move
out
pieces.
Hell, maybe
the old guys
Atlanta.
in this
Atlanta's
team
got
won't
like
be there.
19
Yeah.
picks. Maybe Atlanta
25
wants
and
George Hill,
28.
even though they got Dennis Schroeder. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I don't think they trade back in though. I think Sacramento. I think maybe they will. I think if Sacramento gets in, they're going to get a pick for this year, and they're going to try to add as much youth as possible, and then just see what they have on there.
Just to try to win next
but
year.
at least with this team, there's a clear-cut, perfect fit for them. It's Michael Porter because he's the best small forward on the at least board right now, in my opinion. At least barring injuries, you could say Luka is, but Luka is more of a wing rather than a small forward. You know what I'm saying? Where Porter is more of a forward, Luka's more of a wing. So I think the wing fit, Michael Porter is the best one. But you could even go with Mikal Bridges. He's going to bring some defenses. You could even go with Miles Bridges from Michigan State.
Yeah, I just feel like the first two guys have that star potential in them that the other two don't. That's the problem. Like the Bridges, both of them are good. I respect both, but I don't think that either one of them is nearly the top end as Porter or Luka.
I agree, but I also agree with Jake, who came on and said Mikal Bridges is very impressive, and I think he might have that star potential. But that's going to wrap up this podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching on YouTube. We appreciate it so much. Again, rate us 5 stars on iTunes. We appreciate and love that support. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit that sub button if you haven't. We're trying to get to 10K by the end of February. We appreciate all your help. Check out mostvaluablepodcast.com. Also check out patreon.com. You could be like Jake and join us on a podcast with us, Primetime Podcast, Rick and Johnny Podcast, The Onside Kick, or the Fast Break Podcast with us three goofballs. You could join us here, and also check out the description as well for a t-shirt. If you're listening on Blog Talk again, huge shout out to you. You guys rock. You guys help us more than you know, so we appreciate you. But for Dave Oster, Ricky Widmer, I'm Sean Anderson. We'll see you next time.